Hello everyone, welcome back. This is Neha Tulsyan from Crescent Creation. Do you know what this intro means? It means I am now a design team member of Not2shabby Shop. And I'm so excited about this. This is my very first video as their design team member, and I've created these two very cute shaker cards using few of the products from Not2shabby Shop. I'm also adding this video to my series One Design Different Size Cards. I have not been able to add a lot of videos to this series, but I'll try my best to add more in the future. And before I show you how to create these cute shaker cards, I'll first share my design team kit from Not2shabby Shop. Just want to quickly share all the beautiful products that you can find in the store. And if you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more crafty videos. And hit that notification bell to get notified every time I upload a new video. Here I received a pack of sequins. It's a beautiful dark pink, almost magenta color sequins that matches nicely with the paper pads. Also got these cute stickers. Now let's move on to the stamp sets. The first one here is the Bouquet of Happiness clear stamp set. It has this beautiful floral pattern. You also get these small flowers separated from the bunch so that you can add few flowers of your own to the bunch. And the sentiment reads, I miss you, that's all. Happy Valentine's Day. You are so loved. And I really like the different fonts of these sentiments. The next stamp is this Happy Together clear stamp, and this is one of my favorite from this release. I really like this image where the two hands are holding each other, and you also get these accessories like these bracelets that you can add to both of these hands. And the sentiments are beautiful too, like be mine, happy together, happy anniversary, congratulations. Again, love the different fonts here. Then the last stamp set is the Sprinkled with Love clear stamp set. This is the stamp set I'm going to use today for my cards. I really like the images here. The images here are so detailed and good size for you to color them nicely. And the sentiments read, I love cookies and cupcakes, but nothing sweeter than you. Sprinkled with love, you bake me happy. And you also get this particular stamp set in digital stamp too, so you can check it out. If you don't want clear stamps, you can go for digital stamps. Or both, as I am going to do in this video. Lastly, I'm going to show you these two newly released paper pads. The first one here is the Frosted and Tufted 6x6 double-sided paper pad. You get 24 double-sided sheets, 2 of each design. I'm in love with this beautiful paper. The patterns are so gorgeous and yummy. The next pattern paper is my Sweet Valentine, again a 6x6 double-sided pack. You get 24 double-sided sheets, 4 of each design. Love the color combination of this pack, and I also like the different patterns that you get in this pack. You can get all these products and few more extras like die cuts, ephemera packs and stickers in the Valentine's Day box from Not2shabby Shop. All the products will be linked in the description box below. So now let's start creating. For both my cards today, I decided to create my own background using the digital stamp that matches the Sprinkled with Love clear stamp. So here I'm just going to quickly show you how I created my background on Microsoft Word using the digital stamps from Not2shabby Shop. So here I have opened a new document on Word. And now to insert my digital image, I'm clicking on picture and from there picture from files. And I'll open the folder where my image is saved and then I'll import that to Word document. Now that I have my image here, I'll right click on this image and click on wrap text and from there in front of text. This just helps to move the image freely and place it anywhere on the page. Now I'll just crop this whole image to keep one of the images. So here I'm first cropping out the whole image and just keeping the cupcake. I'll go as close as I can. Once happy, I'll hit enter. And that's it. I have my image all cropped out. And now I can size it and move it anywhere on my page. I'll repeat the same steps for next two images and have both of those images here on the page. And once I have them all here, I'll copy paste these images multiple times and spread them all over my page to create a background. I arranged them randomly with no particular pattern. Just make sure not to keep two same images very close to each other. Once done, I'll save this document and print it on my HP printer. I printed this out on a A4 size sheet of Strathmore Bristol Smooth cardstock using my HP inkjet printer. Now I'm using these two dies from Lawn Fawn. The slimline die is from the large slimline die set with sliders, and the other one is the largest die from the small stitched rectangle die set. And I have die cut these two panels that will be my card bases. Now I'm gonna use my Zig Clean Color Real Brush pens to color these images. That's the reason I chose to print out this background on Strathmore Bristol Smooth cardstock. Zig and Bristol Smooth cardstock are like a match made in heaven. But you can use any water-based markers with Strathmore Bristol Smooth cardstocks. Also, I'm not going to share all the coloring video here, just one per image, as there are a lot of images to color and they're all colored the similar way. And if I show you all the coloring, I'm going to keep you here forever. Also, all the markers used are listed on the top right corner of the screen. While coloring with my Zig markers, I like to use at least two markers, one the darker color and one the lightest color. I add my shadows with my darker color and then blend it out with the lightest color. Sometimes if my markers are too far apart, I like to add a in-between color that acts as my medium color. And I like to clean my lighter markers in between on a separate cardstock to make sure that I'm not mixing the darker color with my lighter color. Now here are both my background panels all colored and ready to use. Next, I'll move on to working on the two focal images on both my cards. For my first image, that's my cupcake image that goes on my slimline card, I'm stamping it on one of the pattern papers. I'm placing the stamp set on the pattern paper in such a way that the wrapper of the cupcake is a little bit on that drip pattern on the pattern paper. So now I'm stamping the image using some black ink. And now I'm fussy cutting out just the bottom wrapper part of the cupcake. Now I'm adding some depth to this image using my Copic markers. I'm using RV04 as my darker marker and adding some shadows at the bottom part of the wrapper. And then I'll use RV02 to blend it out. Once done, I'll use my Tombow brush marker to color the edges of this image to give it a more finished look. It makes a lot of difference by just adding a little bit of this black color to the edges of this fuzzy cut image. I'm gonna stamp this cupcake image once again on my accent opaque cardstock in 80 lbs. And I'm gonna color the top part of the cupcake using Copic markers. I've used E49, E79 and E77 Copic markers to color my cupcake. I wanted to match my cupcake color with the drip pattern color on the wrapper from the pattern paper to show as if the icing part from the cupcake is dripping onto the wrapper. Now I'm going to fuzzy cut it, leaving a little bit of white outline all around. And using some liquid glue from Bearly Arts, I'll glue that pattern paper onto the cupcake image. This technique here is called paper piecing. This is one of my favorite techniques to add details to the stamped images without adding a lot of color to them. And it also gives you a chance to use those beautiful pattern papers on your stamped images. Now for the sprinkles in my cupcake, I decided to use Nuvo crystal drops in different colors. This just adds a nice color to the cupcake and also adds some texture. All the colors used are listed on the screen. And this is how my cupcake looks once all done. Isn't it yummy? Now for my next focal image on my A2 size card, I'm stamping the heart-shaped cookie onto Strathmore Bristol Smooth cardstock. And I'm going to use my Zig Clean Color Real Brush markers to color this image. I like to switch between my Copic markers and the clean color markers time to time. And in today's video, I used both Copic markers and the clean color real brush pens to show you that you can use any alcohol based or water based markers or even color pencils. These images are so easy to color that you can use just any medium. So here I started with my dark brown pen and added some shadows, blending out the dark brown using the mid brown pen, and then lastly using the oatmeal color to blend everything out. For the icing part, I'm using deep red as my darker color, adding shadows with it, and then blending it out using my lighter color, that's the cadmium red. I also added some color to the sprinkles using the deep red color. Once done coloring, I'm fussy cutting out, um, leaving a little bit of white outline all around. Now that our focal images are done, let's work on the shaker part of the cards. I'm using the smallest die from the stitched scallop rectangle frames from Lawn Fawn, and I'm die cutting it out using one of the polka dot pattern papers from Frosted and Tufted pattern paper pack from Not2shabby Shop as my shaker frame here. And off camera, I'm gonna die cut this several times using some pieces of pink cardstock for my shaker well. Now for my slimline shaker card, I'm going to do some partial die cutting to create the shaker frame. So for the first time when I pass my die through my die cutting machine, I'm not going to go all the way through, but stop in between and remove the die and then place it a little below, lining up the scalloped edges and placing the cutting mat in such a way that the die does not cut the top part. And this is how my frame looks once all die cut. Now let's work on our shaker well. I'm starting with gluing down the frames that I just die cut on a clear sheet of acetate using some liquid glue. And I'll keep this aside to dry while I'll work on the rest of the frames. I get these extra frames from scrap pink cardstocks, um, and now I'm gluing them all together using some liquid glue from Burley Arts. You can even die cut these frames out of foam sheets, but I did not have any pink foam sheet and I did not want to use white foam sheet as it's going to show from the side. And I really wanted the side to have pink color, so I decided to use pink cardstock instead of foam sheets. Here I'm cutting out the excess clear sheet from around my frames so that I can glue it to my shaker well. Now I'm gluing down my top frame with clear sheet onto the layers of frame, and this creates my shaker well. I added 7 extra layers of frame to create this complete well. For my slimline shaker frame, since I did partial die cutting to create this frame, I did not want to do any more partial die cutting to add layers of frame behind it. So I decided to add 2 layers of foam tape instead, and that created my shaker well for my slimline card. Here I'm just using my anti-static powder tool, going all around inside my shaker well to remove any static on the clear sheet and also make sure there is no stick um, left behind because of the double-sided tape. Repeating the process for the smaller frame too. Now the fun part begins. I'm adding the shaker materials directly to the card base here. I'm using the Cupcake Sprinkles clay bits from my store. I'm also adding seed beads in tulip color. Lastly, adding some more seed beads in wild indigo color from my store. Bringing all the seed beads together before gluing down the frame. Now carefully gluing down the frame, making sure it's straight and all the seed beads and clay bits are inside the frame. And here is how it looks. I am in love with this. I just love shaker cards. Now I'm gluing down the cupcake image hanging a little bit outside the shaker frame, and for that I have added some double-sided tape onto that side to give it support. And this is how it looks all done. Now for my A2 size card, I'm using multicolor sprinkle clay bits from my store along with some tulip seed beads. I'm not adding a lot of shaker material in this as my shaker well is a little smaller compared to my slimline shaker well. Now with the help of liquid glue, I'm gluing down my shaker well to my background panel. Since I'm using liquid glue, I have a little bit of wiggle room to line my shaker well before my glue dries. Do you hear that? I love that sound. It's the seed beats there in the shaker that makes most of the sound. Now let's work on the sentiment. I'm using To My Sweet Friend sentiment from the Sprinkled with Love clear stamp set from Not to Shabby Shop. I'm going to heat emboss the sentiment. So I have first prepped my surface using anti-static powder tool, and now I'm stamping the image using VersaFine clear ink. Once done stamping, I'll pour white embossing powder onto the stamped sentiment, tap the excess off, and heat set it using my heat tool. Next, I'll use my scissor and fuzzy cut the sentiment. I stamped two sentiments, one on a light pink cardstock and one on a dark pink cardstock, but I did not really like the light pink cardstock sentiment, so I inked it up using picked raspberry distress oxide ink. Next, I'm using a microfiber cloth to buff off the excess ink from top of the heat embossed sentiment. And now I'll glue this sentiment down to my card front using some thin strips of foam tape. And I'll do the same for my A2 size card. For my A2 size card, I added a layer of polka dot pattern paper from Frosted and Tufted paper pack onto the card base, leaving a white border around. And now I'll use my liquid glue to glue down the card panel to the card base. And now I'm going to add a layer of pattern paper on my slimline card. And since I'm using my 6x6 pattern paper, to fit my slimline card, I have cut the pattern paper into 1-inch strips. And now I'm gluing it down to the edges of my slimline card. Once done gluing, I'll trim off the excess. And now I'll glue the card front onto my card base. And that's how I matted my slimline card using a 6x6 pattern paper. So this is it for today. These are my two shaker cards I created using products from Not to Shabby Shop. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel if you haven't yet. Let me know in the comment section below if you liked this detailed video or if you would want me to do more shorter videos. See you in the next video. Happy crafting. Bye.